Welcome to another episode of Just Cuz, the podcast where two cousins talk about things they love.
Just cuz. And today we are talking about something that is very dear to Max and I, the Cornetto Trilogy. Now, if you weren't super excited by me just saying that, you probably don't know what that is, which is fair. It's a little obscure.
I've talked to some people about it, and immediately when I say the Cornetto Trilogy, they either go the ice cream or they go, what's that?
Yeah, I've had most people are like, what's a cornetto and what? But but the people who do get it, they're like, oh, sick, I love the Cornetto Trilogy.
And what the Cornetto Trilogy is pretty much three movies made by Edgar Wright that are pretty much spiritual sequels. They have nothing to do with each other than sharing actors.
They all share Simon Pegg, who I believe wrote all of them with Edgar Wright. And
yeah, or at least some of them.
Yeah. He definitely wrote the first and the last one. I don't remember the middle one. But and so Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and weirdly enough, Martin Friedman is in all of them. Martin Freeman is in
he in all of them?
three.
Oh, he is in all of them.
I wrote down a note. I wrote down a note when I was watching the second one. I was like, is Martin Freeman in all of these? And I know for sure that he was in the last one. So I was like, yeah. Also,
I was just asking myself if he was in the first one, and I was like, yep, he's in the other group.
Yeah. Also, Bill Nye is in all of them, too. Because I'm pretty sure... Well, okay, so I wasn't sure about the last one. I didn't actually have time to look it up. But I'm pretty sure he did the voice at the end of World's End. Yeah,
he's the knowledge.
So yeah, they're all in all of them.
Yeah, before we get into all three of these masterpieces, I should say, and usually we don't have spoiler warnings, you can't spoil the first one, but the second two have big twists in them.
They do.
And if you enjoy watching movies with incredibly layered storytelling that also happen to be hilarious, watch them. Yeah. And then come back to this podcast.
Exactly. And if you haven't seen these movies for whatever reason, what are you doing? Like, they're some of the best comedic films that I've ever seen. Honestly, they're so much fun. Every time I watch them, I have a great time. And yeah, go watch them.
Yeah. So, should we just review them in order?
Yes. We probably should say what they are because we just told people to go watch them. So let's actually say the title of the movies and then we can start. So, the three movies that we are going to be talking about today that make up the Cornetto Trilogy are Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End.
And should I get into this now before we review them? Sasha, what's your favorite?
What's my favorite? That's not a fair question. I love them all.
I'm going to put a gun to your head. You have to say which one.
Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is my favorite.
That's interesting because again, these all are masterpieces. Shaun of the Dead is my least favorite.
Really? That's so interesting. Well, on this rewatch, Shaun of the Dead was the one that I was least excited by, but not because it's not my favorite, because I've seen it so much. I've seen it way more than I've seen the other two. And I mean, I've seen Hot Fuzz a million times, but
yeah, I've seen Hot Fuzz the most easily.
Hot Fuzz is I was almost gonna say it's really between Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, but I just love the way that Shaun of the Dead is set up in the first half and how it pays off, and I am a sucker for setup and payoff if it's like done so cleverly, and this is, and I just really love that. I mean, Hot Fuzz has that setup as well, but it's less obvious.
We'll get into all of it, but I'll say my favorite is The World's End, and I have a hard time picking between Hot Fuzz and The World's End. Like, it's the same thing for me.
I absolutely...
Those two are so good.
Yeah. No, I absolutely adore World's End. Something about the end of the movie, and we'll talk about it, but something about the end of it just prohibits it from being my favorite. Because I think it could have gone in a different direction.
Very much so. Yeah. There's one specific reason that it's my favorite, and we'll get into it. But before then, let's talk about Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead.
Because every single one of these movies is a complex Rube Goldberg machine.
They are. Each of them honestly deserves their own video. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason that these are called the Cornetto Trilogy is because there's a little Easter egg in each of the movies where Simon Pegg and Nick Frost get cornettos, or one of them, or both of them get a cornetto. And what a cornetto is, it's if you don't know, if you're in America, I think that's the only way you wouldn't know. If it's little pre-packaged ice cream cones, and they come in strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate. And they're just, the classic, like, we have, what are they called? Helados?
Drumsticks?
Oh, we have drumsticks too, but drumsticks have the nuts on them. What are the plain ones?
I have no
think they're
idea.
Helados.
Because I've never had a cornetto.
Well,
I would love to, but
I had one.
just never
It
had
was, I mean, it was an ice cream. It was.
Did it live up to the hype?
No, it's the same as the ones here, but.
Shaun of the Dead, I feel like, has the most callbacks and the most foreshadowing and just repetitious jokes.
It does.
And I feel like I remember hearing about this in an interview, but Edgar Wright put a lot of that stuff in because he didn't want anything to be cut from the movie.
That's so clever. It's like, you need this. It's all set up.
And honestly, it is now a staple of Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
To have just these callbacks, and you hear something and then you hear it again and it's 10% funnier.
And it's funnier, and it means
again,
something
and
else.
funnier.
Yeah, and it means something else. Like the classic bit in this one is like, oh, you've got red on you. Oh, in the first time you hear it is because Shaun's pen exploded and there's red ink on his shirt. And later it's because it's covered in blood.
Just so many times he gets red on him, and then someone calls it out.
Yeah.
Saying, you've got red on you.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. This one is the strawberry one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I for my notes for this movie, I did write notes, which I almost never do. But I wrote down notes. And instead of titling them the titles of the 3 movies, I titled them Strawberry, Vanilla, and Chocolate. So right now my page says heading strawberry.
I think it's strawberry, blue, and then mint.
Mint?
Are
Is
the 3
it?
flavors?
Wait, it's blue.
Yeah.
What's a blue flavor? I thought it was just vanilla in a blue wrapper.
Blue is just artificial blue, which honestly is a great flavor.
Artificial blue? I thought it was vanilla. I guess I'm stupid. Oh well.
I could be wrong.
I have no clue. But I labeled them strawberry, vanilla, chocolate. If I'm wrong, please tell me, someone.
But yeah, Shaun of the Dead is strawberry because of obvious reasons. There's lots and lots of blood.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of blood in all of them, but actually, no,
Yes.
There's not lots of blood in The World's End. But
there's a lot of fake blood.
there's
in
a lot
World's
of
End.
blue goo. But anyway, Shaun of the Dead. Okay.
Shaun and his relationship with his parents is just the real focus of the movie. Like, there's a lot going on in this movie, but every emotional beat, other than some rare things with the girlfriend, it's all comes from his stepdad and his mom. And I love everything about that in this movie.
Mm-hmm. No, it's very well done, and it's very, like, it's not in your face about it, but it is very obvious. It's not, like, subtle, which is, I mean, it is, like, it's done very well. And I think, honestly, these 3 movies, they have almost nothing in common, but they all have very similar thematic elements at different parts. And one of the main ones that I was able to see was, the monotony of everyday life and the monotony of quote unquote growing up. And that is really focused on in Shaun of the Dead. And it's like, oh, the monotony of Shaun's life is something that he longs to escape. And that's why he spends so much time with Ed in the pub at the Winchester. And, but that turns into a bit of monotony of itself for Liz. And Liz hates that,
just stagnation.
Yeah, stagnant place that she's gotten herself into that she doesn't like. And it's really interesting how they go about changing that, because the whole movie is, well, we're gonna go back, we're gonna do exactly what we usually do, except this time it's different. It's completely different because we're running from zombies.
I mean, side note, would Liz and her friends have been safer in her apartment?
I don't know. Because because see my first thought would be no, exactly what Shaun said. The zombies are gonna climb up there and kill them.
Mhm.
They're sitting
All it takes
ducks.
is
All it
one.
takes is one. But then again, there was at the end it's revealed there's a ton of people who survived and the zombies are now used for reality television. So I don't know. I don't know if they would have been safer or not. um
Because every time I rewatch this movie, I think more of Shaun. Like, it's the obvious themes, but it's Shaun dragging Liz down into
yeah.
his plans or whatever he has
Yeah. Well,
cooped up.
it is, and it's kind of the idea of um taking I don't even want to say it because I don't think it's the right reading of it, but it's like
No, just say it.
Liz's idea for what she wants with what their faces. I don't remember their names. The friend
Hmm.
who's in love with her and the friend who's a girl. Um
It's British Pam.
yeah, British Pam. But no, so the idea for her life that she wants with them is torn apart. It's torn away from her and she is sucked into Shaun's life. And not that Shaun even gets to keep his life after the events of the movie because all of his friends are dead, but all of his family's dead, but he still gets to keep Ed, which is, you know, it's a bit sad. I mean, it's very sad obviously because everybody dies, but if you are just looking at the theming of growing up, okay, well, Liz has to grow up and let go of the ideas for life that she wanted and settle into monotony with Shaun, but Shaun doesn't have to because
Mm-mm.
he gets exactly what he wanted.
Thematically, the ending is very strange,
Mm-hmm.
with Ed still being alive, but also he's a zombie, but he's the same exact person that he
Right.
was. I like the humor in that, in what I just said, but again, it's exactly what you mentioned. I'm just echoing it, where whatever Simon Pegg's character's name, that he
Sean.
gets to.
Sean.
Sean?
That's the one that
I
you
can't believe I
can't
forgot
forget.
that. I have no idea what his character is in Hot Fuzz and the World's End, but how could I forget Shaun?
um
Goodness. But
yeah.
Shaun gets to have his happy ending where he gets to stay with Ed and he gets to game and veg
Yeah.
out.
Well, honestly, the thing that links the three of these movies as well as the, monotony of growing up and everyday life, other than that, it's the honestly love story between Simon Pegg and Nick Frost's characters in
Yep.
all of these because they're all love stories, and I would go so far as to saying the one in Hot Fuzz is actually a romantic one, but
I was about to say Hot Fuzz is the most prominent
yeah,
love story.
that one's the romantic one, but the rest of them are also love stories. Like this one is, um, I would say that Shaun of the Dead and The World's End are both romanticizing of childhood and the love of
Mhm.
themselves as childhood friends, but from opposite ends. Shaun of the Dead would be Ed romanticizing childhood and or Nick Frost's character romanticizing childhood, and The World's End would be Simon Pegg's character romanticizing childhood. I feel like it's
Yes.
from opposite ends, which is very interesting.
Which is why The World's End is a great third movie. But we're getting ahead of
Yeah.
ourselves.
I think, yeah, one of the notes I wrote was just the idea of the monotony of life being an allegory, or the zombies being an allegory for the monotony of life, like
Mhm.
especially in the first two, in the first sequence where Shaun gets up and you see the first day of his life and his daily
Mhm.
routine, and when people are turned into zombies, not much has changed. Everything is the
Yeah.
same. Everyone is all sluggish and just going through the motions, and so is Shaun. Um,
And that's not a new idea, especially for zombie stuff,
right.
but the execution in this, I'm mainly thinking of the one take before the zombie apocalypse starts, where Shaun just walks to the grocery store and walks
That's
back.
exactly what I was talking
And
about. Yeah, the one where he walks to the grocery store and you see all the people in the background, and he
Mhm.
walks in, he picks up the Coke and puts it down and grabs the Diet Coke and goes there, and it's exactly the same the day that the zombies take over, except, and
and
Shaun
you gotta
doesn't,
pay attention.
you have to pay attention, and Shaun doesn't notice anything is different because everyone's acting the same. There's just blood everywhere that he hasn't noticed yet.
But I love those two shots so much because if there is a person that walks by the camera in the first, long take, that means that there will be a zombie at some point relative to that
Yeah.
in the next one take. And
Mhm.
it was masterful.
It's all
Like,
it's
that's
all
probably
good.
the best case
Yeah.
in Shaun.
I'm always thinking about so the friend that Shaun has, I forget her name, but the one who has the mirrored journey as him, the alternate timeline. I
Yes.
always wonder what's going on in that alternate movie. And I'm sure it's a lot of the same, but at the end we don't see her and her boyfriend Martin Freeman. We just see her. So I'm like, oh my God, what happened? I have to know.
He died. So Edgar Wright fully planned on making that a short film, just that exact idea.
Mhm.
But then he just never got around to it.
Damn shame.
But there is probably a story out there. I'd love to see like a comic or something.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. But I don't remember any of their names. So I feel like
No.
it would probably just be a lot like what happened in Shaun of the Dead.
But yeah, it's the exact same crew.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, I love just the attitude in this movie. Not the what's it called? The tone. I love the tone of the
Mhm.
dialogue in this movie. I love how everyone is so just, yeah, zombies are taking over and our whole world has changed, but in an instant. But, I don't want to go to the Winchester or it's like, oh, and they're just like, they're so British in the way that they're talking about like killing themselves at the end, Shaun and Liz, and they're just like, oh no, I can do that. I would be a terrible shot. I'm bad at that. You should do it.
I'd just muck it up.
Yeah, I just mug it up. It's so good. It's so funny.
And it's so dark and depressing,
Yeah.
but it's with this sheen of comedy. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the entire movie because there is a lot of blood and gore.
Yeah.
I mean, not too much for like a torture porn or to that level, but it's definitely there.
I mean, Edgar Wright movies they're action comedies. They all have lots of violence and stuff, and honestly, he uses it to his strength. I would say him and James Gunn are really good examples of using that kind of violence for something and just instead of just having senseless violence, like for story. And I've always
every time that something gets even minorly violent, it is there for a specific reason.
Yeah.
Is there too much else?
Yeah. Hold on.
Talk about
Just
Shaun of the Dead? Okay,
one
good.
more thing. It's the thing that ties together all of the movies except other than the Cornettos and the actors. It's the classic in the romance. It's the classic fence bit.
Yeah, oh my God, I forgot about that.
It's a classic
How
fence
could I
bit.
forget?
It's so good.
Never taken a shortcut
yeah,
before?
Yeah, what's the matter? What's his fucking name? James? I don't know. He's like, what's the matter? Haven't taken a shortcut before. Jumps over the fence and falls down. It's so funny. And it happens in every single one.
And it gets progressively better.
Yeah.
I have one last note for Shaun of the Dead. Do you have anything?
I have a few things, but you go first.
Okay, so I just wrote down the whole quote because it's so good. What should we do tomorrow? Keep drinking, Bloody Mary first thing, a bite at the king's head, a couple at the Little Princess, stagger back here, and bang, back at the bar for shots.
Yep.
Perfect line.
It's so good. It tells you exactly, if for those of you who don't know the entire script of Shaun of the Dead like we do, that is a line that Ed says at the beginning of the movie, at the very beginning of the movie, and it tells you exactly what is going to happen throughout the entire movie. It tells you the whole plot everything that's going to happen is spoiled in that one line. And it's not a spoiler because you don't even realize that it's happening. And when you rewatch it, you're like, oh my God.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But yeah, every single movie does this in some sort of way, but Shaun of the Dead does it the best.
Yeah.
Because it's so on the nose, but it's perfect.
It's great. Few other lines that I wrote down. When someone calls Ed Shaun's boyfriend, he says, he's not my boyfriend. And then Ed hands him a beer and he's like, thanks, babe. I loved it. I had to pause it because I was laughing so much. Another one at the end when Ed is sacrificing himself, he says, I'll only hold you back. And it's done so powerfully because he's not only talking about physically because Ed has been shot at this point. And he's not just gonna hold him back physically. He's talking about Shaun's development. He's holding him back emotionally. So go on without me. I'm just gonna hold you back, which is so good of a line, which is why it's so puzzling why Ed is still there as a zombie at the end.
I feel like it was a late decision to have that.
Yeah.
But again, the whole realization from Ed that he is just a burnout and like him sort of being okay with that. And you could see on his face, he's processing that from like the midpoint of the movie on.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the moments where he's being a dick or just ignoring others is him just like crying out for help in his own dumb way.
Yeah. I mean, I think something that makes this film stand apart is that, like, not just the main characters have fully realized character arcs. All of them do. Even the ones who die suddenly or get, who don't end up in a place that you would like to end up or you would like them to end up, they still have fully realized arcs. And that's true of Shaun with his stepdad and Shaun with his mom. By the way, the bit with his mom, I'm sorry, I'm not someone who's ever seen The Walking Dead, but I remember everybody talking about this one part in The Walking Dead where somebody got bit and they had to kill them, and it was so tragic and awful, and I was like, this is so much sadder than I could ever imagine Walking Dead being.
Killing your mom.
This and The Last of Us, the show.
Yeah.
My gosh.
God damn it.
The episode with what was it? The little kid. What was his
Nick
name?
Offerman.
Sam? No, not Nick Offerman. I was thinking of the little kid, Sam and Henry.
Oh.
I don't remember which one was which, but that one. Oh my God, kills me. Yeah. On that depressing
You're going to
note,
get me talking about The Last of Us.
No, we have to wait. We have to do that at a different time.
Yes. But let's move on to the second movie in the Cornetto Trilogy, Hot Fuzz.
See, now that we're talking about it, Hot Fuzz is my favorite.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Honestly.
I waffle. I waffle back and forth. I can't decide.
Hot Fuzz is so goddamn good.
It's so
and this one has the most foreshadowing in it, but it's the most subtle.
Yeah.
Because it's a murder mystery.
Yeah. This one is, I mean, The World's End is a bit of a mystery, but pretty quickly you catch on to what's happening. This is the only one where you're like, I genuinely don't know what's happening until the twist at the end.
They wait until the third act to reveal.
That's the third act.
Whereas The World's End is like midpoint,
Yeah.
or even probably sooner than that.
Yeah. Basically, for those of you who haven't seen World's End not World's End, who haven't seen Hot Fuzz and don't mind being spoiled, you're wrong. But Hot Fuzz is about not Shaun. Why do I keep saying that? Simon Pegg, police officer man. He goes to...
and he's definitely not Shaun.
He's definitely not Shaun. He's the opposite
him.
of Shaun. He is... At first, I was like, okay, this is great because we're doing the opposite of the characters, but that's not true. Because Danny is a lot like Ed, Nick Frost's character in this one. Danny is a lot like Ed from the previous movie, but he is more put together than Ed. He is more like a goofy version of Shaun. than Ed. But
Mm-hmm.
this guy who Simon Pegg plays, I forget his name, but this
I have no
officer,
idea what his name
he
is.
is like the complete opposite of all of those types of characters. He is tight ass.
Mm-hmm.
He is by the
He's a
books. He's
robot.
super ambitious. He is like, I have no personality but the law.
And yeah, his character arc in the whole movie is not working so
Yeah,
much,
it's
which is the exact opposite of both other movies from
right,
the
right.
trilogy.
It is to escape the monotony of growing up from the opposite end. It is you're
Mm-hmm.
already in this monotony. Your girlfriend has left you. You've been transferred to this small town, this monotonous small town where everyone wants everything to stay the same and never change. And you need to learn to change, which is
Mm-hmm.
it's it's so good. It's so good.
Every movie is so layered, and the more I think about it, the better it gets.
Mhm.
But the Hot Fuzz, oh my goodness.
Mhm.
And I also have one thing that I love about Hot Fuzz is it has the most horror in it, even though it has no supernatural
Right.
things in it at all.
Yeah. It is.
Which I even thought the first time watching it, maybe there was gonna be a
Yeah,
supernatural
I thought they
twist,
were gonna.
but I'm glad they
Yeah,
didn't.
I thought when I saw them in the hoods at the end, I was like, "Oh, are we doing some devil shit?" But no, it's just it's so funny and so good, and also so horrifying. Like when you at the end when Shaun like falls into the catacombs and like the caverns under the town and
Hmm.
finds all of these bodies of innocent dead people and children that are that these people have killed, and you're just like, "Oh my god. What the hell? How can they possibly justify all this?"
They play that audio and it's like distorted, it's like crusty
Yeah,
jugglers.
and it's just like repeating the
That
things that
moment is
they've said.
amazing.
It's sickening. It's so good.
But I mean, now that we're talking about the twist, I really do want to talk about the reasoning
Mhm.
and when it's revealed that
Well, hold on.
whatever Nick Frost character.
Yeah,
Okay,
hold on.
do you got
First
something?
off, I just want to say this. Okay, I don't know his name in real life, but I call him Alexei Volkov because the first thing I ever saw him in was Chuck when I was a kid, and he's the supermarket guy, right? And
Oh,
so
Bond.
yeah, but I call him Alexei Volkov, but whatever.
His name is Timothy
I
Dalton and he
know
kills
that's it,
it.
Timothy
But I
Dalton.
know him as
I
Bond.
know him as Bond, but I know him. But it's because when I was a kid, I watched him. I watched Psych so much, but I also watched Doctor Who so much. So I was like, is he Alexei Volkov or is he that Time Lord guy whose name I forget? But since I forget his name, then he's Alexei Volkov. Anyway, tangent over. The whole movie is so clearly set up as a murder mystery with everything pointing to him as the murderer. And
Hmm.
you're like, oh, this isn't, this wasn't billed to me as a murder mystery. It was billed to me as an action movie. So I'm going to assume that the guy that all the evidence is pointing at is totally the one who did it. So it's like, if you're that kind of person who's like, oh, everything is telling me that it's this person, so it's this person,
Yeah.
then that's what you're like. You go in thinking for the whole time, for the whole movie until the very end, where it's revealed that. Why don't you tell?
It's not just Timothy Dalton, it's everyone. The entire neighborhood
It's
council.
every single old person that you've met in the movie at all. It is only the old people, which is hilarious. But it's every single one that we've met in the whole movie. And remember, this takes place in a sleepy village in England where there's tons of old people, and it's revealed that every single one of them has all been murdering people just ruthlessly in
And
horribly
for no
graphic
reason
murders.
at
Yeah,
all.
and no reason at all. It's like, oh, I didn't like his hedge clippings. Oh, she was moving away. Nobody else can have her horticultural skills. What?
And the whole reasoning of the police constable, I think he's the constable, I have no idea, but Frank,
No,
his
he was the
wife
captain. He was
died.
the captain.
Oh, the
Uh-huh.
captain. But his wife died because they didn't win some
Yeah,
competition.
best village. They didn't win best village of the year that one year.
So now they're
So
willing to
they're
kill
killing
dozens of people to get the best village
they kill
award.
everyone who doesn't align with their idea of the best village. And the thing, okay, so they killed everyone who ever came to that town. They killed
Yep.
travelers who came to the town. Like, they killed, what was it, circus performers or something who came into the town.
Hmm.
They killed people from the town. Like, like
They killed
there's
like
like a
teenagers,
group
right?
of teenage boys, yeah, who they murdered and whose bodies are sitting in a cavern underground. And I'm sitting here like, where are the parents of these teenage boys, and why aren't they worried that they haven't seen their children in weeks?
Or maybe they're dead too.
Maybe. I don't, but like, we would know this because we're following Simon Pegg, who is the police guy. I don't know what he is.
Yeah,
he's a
he's the
police.
policeman.
He's a police. And he is tracking every single death that happens, and he's like, these are murders, and everyone's like, no, they're just accidents. They're just gruesome accidents. And he's like,
And
no, they're definitely
it,
murders. So if there were other people like missing or other bodies that they found, we would know. I feel like he would point out, this people are missing, these people are missing, all these people in this town are missing. This isn't a very big town. Where are these people?
or even just the layeredness of what you just said, where I'm sure people go missing all the time in that town, but it's always labeled as an accident. So the
Yeah.
policemen are always like, oh, it's just an accident.
Sure, the
It happens every
policemen
day.
are, but Simon Pegg isn't, and the parents of these children shouldn't be.
But yeah, the entire reveal is so stupid and hilarious, but it feels real the moment Frank, the police head guy, comes
Comes in,
out.
and you're
And then
just like
they,
shook, because he has been on your side
yeah.
the whole on our side the whole movie, and then we find out that he is part of it, and it's just crazy.
And the line for me that nailed it was when Simon Pegg was kind of like, "What? This is all for Best Village," and then Frank was just like, "We are the best
We are the
village."
best village. It's like, it's so creepy, and it's like they firmly have no remorse and like actually believe in what they are doing, which makes it even scarier. And they're all doing it for what, Max? What's the reason they're all doing it for?
The greater good.
The greater good. You have to say it twice. You have to repeat it.
Shut it. Honestly, this movie is easily the funniest out of the three, at least for me.
No, it's absolutely the funniest. I mean, Shaun of the Dead is funny because of its repetition and the things
Mhm.
like the situations that they're in, but this movie is like, has the most like funniest lines, the best jokes. It's so good.
Things that come to mind for just comedy gold are the shot of the two Andys coming in and out of camera. Like they weave
Yeah,
in like
the
a
Andes,
snake.
they're so good. Oh my gosh. Um
Another thing is Filch needing a translator, and then the
Later
translator needing a translator.
Yeah, no, it's so funny. He's Filch, and then he's also that guy from Game of Thrones who Arya turns into a pie, right? No, she turns his
Yes.
children into a pie. Whatever. Um,
And then slits his throat.
yeah, sick. So this is these are the last four notes that I have written down. I'm gonna read them out. First one says,
Okay.
"Classic fence bit again." With a bunch of exclamation points. The second one says, "Low-key romantic?" ? And then I put, "It's literally a breakup scene." And then the next one I put, "Not low-key, actually."
Yeah, it's very, very high key.
Very high-key romantic. I expect them in the epilogue at the end where they're putting flowers on Danny's mom's grave. I expect that they're living together, and that
Mhm.
that Danny has just gone out early for his shift. And that is just what I believe in my heart of hearts, and you can't convince me otherwise.
They should have just ended the movie with one of them kissing the other on the cheek or something like that.
They didn't even need that. It was so clearly romantic. Like, it didn't need any of that. They like, he goes and gets him a Japanese water lily, for God's sakes. That is the most romantic thing in the world. He didn't even get his old girlfriend, a Japanese water lily.
His old girlfriend, which also happened to be Cate Blanchett.
Cate Blanchett.
Like, what?
And I wrote down, oh my God, the breakup scene is so funny. Because, so her character,
perfect.
She's in it for literally 2 minutes of screen time. But she is a forensic investigator person, right? And so she is like, or like a lab tech. I don't know. She's there at a crime scene. She's dressed in like one of those like hoodie things and a mask, so all you can see is her eyes. And then Simon Pegg starts talking to her and being like, oh, I'm moving away. And then the person he's talking to is like, I'm not her, man. She's over there.
I'm not Janine.
Yeah, and then in the background, like, there are these people that pipe up, and then one of them is Bob, and then Simon Pegg's like, are you having an affair with Bob? And then, because Bob is dressed exactly the same as she is, and then she's like, no, are you crazy? Is Bob the kind of person does Bob look like the kind of guy you think I'd have an affair with? No, I'm having an affair with whatever his name is, Joe. And then he turns and he's right next to Bob, and he looks exactly the same because they're all wearing the same thing. It's so funny.
It's like, hello. On the topic of just actors showing up in this movie for like 1 second.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who stabbed Simon Pegg in the hand, like as Santa?
I don't remember that at all. No.
The great director Peter Jackson
What?
is the one who does that.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
And you see his face for like 3 frames. Probably more, but it's crazy. You just watch that part again.
I absolutely will. That's so funny. Wow.
So do you have anything more on Hot Fuzz?
I don't.
Because I really want to move on
to
the World's End.
We covered the classic fence bit, and we covered the Cornetto flavor that may or may not be vanilla or mint, apparently. Or blue. Or artificial blue. I'm still in the camp. I haven't looked it up at all, so take that with a grain of salt. But I'm still in the camp that I think that the wrapper is blue, but it's vanilla flavor.
It's the natural flavor that everyone knows that grows on every tree. Blue.
Hey, I've just been reading the first chapter of Percy Jackson, and blue food is real and comes in nature, okay? You try telling that to Sally Jackson, okay?
Can't wait for that show. Side topic, the trailer's great.
We'll talk about it later.
We will talk about it later. But first, we got to talk about the mint flavor. I'm pretty sure it is because it's the sci-fi
Yeah, no,
one.
I'm pretty sure that one is mint. I wrote chocolate, but I think I'm wrong, and I think it's mint because that one is green, and I don't know why you would ever color a chocolate wrapper green. But I don't know. It's a different country. Who knows?
Honestly, this movie is probably my favorite, though I love Hot Fuzz so much, and that is because of the action. The choreography and cinematography in this movie is next level.
Yeah.
I love it so much. And that's why it's so rewatchable for me, even though it still does have that Rube Goldberg level of callback jokes and repetition.
Yeah. For me, I love this movie. I do, but it is the least rewatchable one for me personally, out of the 3. But it is still, like, a really good time. I don't know why I feel that way. I think, honestly, I just get so sad watching this movie. I'm like, Simon Pegg's character is so sad, and their history is so sad. And, like, it does a similar thing to Shaun of the Dead, where in the beginning it tells you exactly what's going to happen with the Golden Mile. They're trying to go to all the pubs in this town, and they call it the Golden Mile. And it's like, what, 12 pubs or something?
Something like that. And they got to drink a pint at every pub.
Yeah, they have to drink a pint at every pub. And they do a similar thing in the beginning where he's like recapping when they tried to do it in their childhood, and exactly what happened then is what happens in this movie, but in a different way. because,
Yeah, if
like
you watch the movie, just go back to the beginning and watch that intro.
Yeah.
Because it's incredible.
It is. And it's very similar to Shaun of the Dead, except that was zombies and this is not robots, aliens.
Blue Bloods.
Not blanks or slash empties slash something.
They never really came up with the
No,
name.
they didn't.
But I love this movie for the simple fact that every bar, the name of it, is just sometimes subtle, sometimes not so subtle clue as to what's going to happen.
Oh, is it?
Just in that bar.
I didn't notice that. What are they?
I can't think of all of them, but off the top of my head, the two-headed mermaid is where they fight the two robots.
Twins? Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so clever. I didn't
and
know
the
that.
beehive is when they have that brawl with
Yeah.
all of the worker bees.
The worker bees. What? Isn't there one called, like, Cock or something?
Yeah, the famous cock.
The
That's the
famous
one
cock.
that Simon Pegg gets kicked out for because he's the famous cock.
Oh! Stop! That's so smart. The one where he drinks the dregs of other people's pints that they left
Yeah.
outside. Gross.
I also have the note that Simon Pegg is the worst version of Shaun imaginable.
Yeah, this guy, I know this guy's name. I just don't know the middle one's name. But this is Gary King. How could you forget his name? He's the king.
Oh, he's the king.
He's the king. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, Gary. I forgot your name.
And I know all of Nick Frost's character's name for some reason. I don't know why. They just stick in my head. This one is Andy. So they're Gary and Andy in this one. And Martin Freeman
And
is
their
Oliver.
relationship.
This is the first time he gets a name. No, he got a name in Shaun of the Dead, but I don't remember what it was.
But yeah, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost's relationship, I feel like, is the most complex in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's a secret that we have to figure out.
It's a secret, and
what
it's
it is.
also, like, they're two very troubled people. Like, they both haven't let go of the things that happened when they were kids, but in very different ways. And Andy is very angry about everything that happened, and he is a recovering alcoholic, and he is very upset. Basically, the thing that happened between them was that Gary was and is someone who doesn't care about pretty much anything but himself, kind of.
Yeah.
And he got Andy into a horrible car accident, and then he just fucked off and left while Andy got arrested and taken to the hospital to have 12 surgeries and life-saving surgeries, and they haven't spoken since. And that's just like, I was like, whoa, that's a hell of a backstory. And the movie
another
opens,
thing that I was gonna say, another thing that separates this movie from the other two for me is how sadly real it gets at parts.
Yeah.
And it waits to get to those parts.
It really does.
And then it throws it in your face, and you realize how much it had been leading up to that.
Yeah.
Just subtly foreshadowing it. I mean, alcoholism is one.
Yeah, because the movie opens like it's Simon Pegg's character Gary telling this, whole story about them trying to do the Golden Mile when they were kids, and then it comes out of the flashback, and Gary is there. He is in a rehab, and he is telling this
It looks
story.
like an AA meeting.
No, it's rehab. Because he was wearing the hospital bracelet, and he was in like a dorm room changing and stuff. So it's rehab, I'm pretty sure. And
that makes a lot more sense.
And he's very clearly not ready to move on. He's not ready to get help.
No.
Because he's so much romanticizing his past that's centered around alcohol, and he as is discussed a lot in this film, he has a very selective memory. And he doesn't remember all of the bad things that happened.
It's also impossible to win an argument with him, even if you're an eternal godlike being.
Right.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
My first note is that it's just so much fun to watch these two people play such different characters in like, because it's like all of these movies are centered around their relationship. Shaun of the Dead, Shaun and Ed, you know, Hot Fuzz, policeman, and Danny. I don't remember his name. And then The World's End, it's Gary and Andy. Like, it's all surrounded around their relationship. Other things are happening too, and other characters are having arcs, and they're important too. But it is really about their different relationships.
And even the other characters' arcs relate to what's going on with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Yeah. And the way that this movie is very subtly about alcoholism, and it reminds you every once in a while. I don't think
it's subtly about alcoholism at all. I think it's very clearly about it.
I mean, it's very clear, especially in the beginning, where he's talking about how he wants to drink so much, and then it's revealed that, like you said, he's in rehab.
Yeah, and Andy is a recovering alcoholic.
The movie kind of subtly drops it, I think, for the purpose of, by the end of the movie, it so loudly screams in your face that this guy is not okay because of alcohol.
Yeah, and he's like...
And they even have the exact line, how do you know if you're drunk if you're never sober?
Yeah. I just think that, I mean, it's not one of those PSA movies. It's not being like, alcoholism is bad, and if you drink alcohol, then you are a bad person, and if you relapse... and if you try to get help for alcoholism and you relapse, then you need to go get more help, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not one of those, I'm sorry, it's not a badly written movie.
No.
It understands what it's trying to say, and it weaves its themes into its plot in a way that is entertaining, insightful, and fun to watch. I mean, that's the same thing as entertaining. Let me think of another thing.
But I mean, just the way that this movie expresses how flawed humans are and how sometimes we like to cut loose, but it can't be every day 24/7. We just also have to have fun and sometimes raise some crops because the world has been destroyed.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway from the ending.
Yeah.
But do you want to talk about the robots? Because I do.
Yes, let's talk about the robots.
Their whole idea of going from planet to planet and trying to help them is very colonial.
Oh, yeah. Colonizer,
and
colonizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, get him. I mean, that's very clear, yeah. And they're just like, we're going to, their thing about, oh, we want to make you better. We want to make you more civilized and more like us. And it's like, okay, colonizers, shut the fuck up.
So we want to make you the best version of you. It's like, well, I've heard that somewhere else too. I don't like that.
I don't like it. Does not sound good to me.
I'd rather be a fuck up human.
And it's not.
And that's perfectly fine.
But it's like, it's very much like, you do what we say or you die, which is... I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. Yeah, they get mulched and recycled and put back into the earth. Shut up. You're killing them.
You never want to ask what happens to the empties.
It's fairly obvious. I think that's just like a joke that doesn't go many places, because I'm like, what do you think is happening to them? They can't have two versions of the same person walking around. They're obviously gonna kill him. Oh well.
Yeah. But there's also another great foreshadowing line where they're talking about the Three Stooges or the Three Musketeers, and they say that they have 5 Musketeers, and they're like, no, we could drop 2,
and it's like
and
2 are disposable, and then we still have the 3. which is it's echoed later in the movie, and it's foreshadowed again in the flashback montage. It's all coming together. We all know that by the end, I mean, we know that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are gonna survive, but the other guy also survived, whatever his name was. Jim?
I have no idea.
Whenever I'm looking for someone's name, have you noticed I always say Jim? I don't know why. I don't think any of these characters are named Jim.
Jim's just a common name.
Jim isn't. I don't know. Is it?
But he was... He was one of the Andys, the guy you're talking about from Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. No, he's really funny.
Yeah, he was great. Honestly, their entire crew was great.
Yeah.
I loved all of them.
And that was, I'm not mistaken, right? That was Rosamund Pike, right? As the girl?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. And I was like, oh my God. Because I obviously knew she was in this movie, but between the last time I watched this, no, wait, was it the last? I don't remember. But I feel like between the last time I watched this movie and this time, I've seen Gone Girl in between. So I was like, oh my God.
You have a different view of her.
But I don't even think that's true because I saw Gone Girl like 3 years ago when I was up visiting you. So I don't know.
But I genuinely love The World's End, and I think it's purely because of the action. There's great storytelling with layered narratives.
Yeah.
But I do get what a lot of people say when they don't necessarily like it. And it reminds me of what is it? Something versus the World.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I adore that film.
Yeah, which is another Edgar Wright movie, but a lot of people say they don't like it, which I understand.
I don't.
Because the main character is deeply unlikable.
That's okay. There are tons of unlikable main characters. I love an unlikable main character. If anyone has watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or Shameless, both of which had super big audiences, people like unlikable main characters, okay? Hey. I finally did it. You'll be proud of me. I watched The Bear. Anyone watching The Bear understands an unlikable main character.
Hey, cousin! Before we go on to our consumption corner, I do have some honorable Cornetto movies.
Do it.
Okay, so only 2 of which that I could find. If there's any more, audience, please let us know. But Paul, if you've seen that.
I haven't seen that.
And okay, so it stars Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright wrote it. And it's about those two going to Comic-Con, and they meet a little green man alien who's voiced by Seth Rogen.
Okay, that sounds fun.
It's obviously not as good as, the Cornetto Trilogy, but it's still a lot of fun to watch.
Sure.
And the second Cornetto honorable mention is The Adventures of Tintin.
Oh.
Which is only barely one, but have you seen that?
Not recently. I don't think I remember it, but I did see it.
But yeah, there's a pair of bumbling cops played by Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. And this is crazy because I knew it was written by Edgar Wright and, produced by Steven Spielberg and all that. But do you know who co-wrote it with Edgar Wright? I mean, other than another third person, but a big name.
Don't say Simon Pegg. No. Oh, okay.
No, Stephen Moffat.
What? Oh, wait, no, I did know that. Wait, no, I did know that. No, I knew that.
You did?
I knew that because...
I had no idea.
No, because I watched this H Bomber Guy video whenever I can't fall asleep. I watch his not that it puts me to sleep. I've just seen it so many times. It's comforting. I love that video. It's the H Bomber Guy video. Sherlock is garbage and here's why.
Yes.
And I've seen it so many times. And he talks about a bunch of the things that Stephen Moffat has done. And that was in there.
I could have a whole podcast about the Tintin movie because it does so many things right and so many things wrong. My voice cracked there. But
you didn't have to point it out. I was going to let you get away with it.
I could have also just edited it out.
You could have, but now you
I'm
can't.
Keeping it in.
Yeah.
Before we truly move on to the consumption corner, I have 2 shows that I forgot to mention in our animation extravaganza.
Okay.
And I could just quickly mention them, and that's Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts and She-Ra. A couple of incredibly mature kid shows, and they deserve some notice.
Oh yeah, She-Ra slaps.
So go check those out.
All right.
But let's move on to the consumption corner, where we're just starved for content.
Num 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 num.
Sasha, what have you been consuming lately?
What have I been consuming? I've mostly said it already, but I finally watched The Bear. It was incredible. Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't watch it sooner. I know I was trying, but I was really busy. But
it is so
good, and I'm obsessed with it, and I'm obsessed with Cousin and Carmi and everybody, and I love it. It's so good. I have also finally started my Percy Jackson reread. You know, all these things that I kept
Nice.
saying that I was gonna do. I'm finally doing them, guys. I am a woman of my word. Um, Also been watching Ahsoka because, of course, I have. Uh,
Yes.
you talk for a second while I try to think of something else.
So I have been reading a few comics. I'd finished The Death of Doctor Strange, which is a pretty recent comic.
Oh,
I don't want to get into the specifics too much, but I've read a billion Death of comics, and this one was a standout.
really?
I would definitely recommend it.
How does he
Yes.
die, and
Should I?
what exactly happens in it?
So I will just get into it. It's a murder mystery of who killed Doctor Strange, and he is murdered at the end of the first issue, and it's revealed that somewhere in like the 70s or like cuz it looks like the 70s version of Doctor Strange, but he pulled a week out of that timeline so that the 70s version of Doctor Strange could solve his murder.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's the art the like he looks like he's straight from the comic from the 70s. It's perfect. It's
I
amazing.
love that. That feels really Spider-Verse of it.
Yes. But on that note, I was talking to one of my coworkers about that comic, and she recommended Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise. And I'm only 2 issues into this comic, but let me tell you, Sasha, I am probably gonna buy this like in hardcover or just in
Really?
paperback
That's a
because it is
commitment.
the most beautifully surreal comic I've read. It reminds me of there's a couple comics, I don't know why I think of Batman, but Arkham Asylum and recently Paul Dano released a Riddler Year One, where it's the kind of artwork where you have to look at it for 10 or 20 seconds and just think, what the hell am I looking at?
Wow. That sounds so
I'd have
cool.
to show you pictures of it. It's surreal. It's great. I can't wait to finish this comic. But Sasha, what else have you been consuming?
Well, there was this one thing, it's kind of related in my mind to the Cornetto trilogy. I sold this book today. I didn't because we both work in bookstores because we're nerds. But I sold this book today and I was reading the back of it and because I haven't read it, but I've heard of it. I heard of it a while ago and I don't remember where, but it kind of reminded me of the Cornetto trilogy of what we were talking about earlier. It's called Meet Me in Another Life, and it's this sci-fi book about these two people who keep meeting in different lives in different circumstances, and I don't think it was turned into a movie or anything, but it sounded very familiar and I don't know where I heard it from.
That sounds
It
excellent.
sounds so good. And I was like, that's kind of what the Cornetto trilogy is. They're like the same
Yeah.
people meeting in different lives and telling different stories. And I'm like, that's so cool. And I really want to read it, but I sold the last copy, so I have to wait till the next one comes in. But yeah, I've definitely been watching other things, but I can't remember what they are. So, I've been watching all the new episodes of Only Murders in the Building. It's so good.
Oh, I need to catch up on
I
that.
love that
I need
show.
to.
It's so fun. It's so
It's
fun.
so much fun.
Yeah. I think that's gonna draw our corner to a close, but I
Oh,
do.
I have
Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
2 more things to talk about. One is a promise, but the other is something that's been sucking up every little bit of free time that I have recently. And it's not a new game, but I purchased Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it
Oh,
is the type of anxiety inducing open world that as soon as I look at the map, I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to do. And it takes me 20 minutes just to get over there.
that's
But then it's addicting
that's
nonetheless.
how I felt when I started Skyrim. That's how I felt playing Skyrim.
You just look at everything you need to do, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, it
it's
was
too
like it's
much.
too big. It doesn't tell me what to do next, so I don't know what I should do. I'm frozen in fear.
Yeah, usually I hate open world games for that exact reason. It's very few. Like, I can't wait for the new Spider-Man coming out, but that is an open world that I feel like you can explore very quickly.
Wait.
Whereas Breath of the Wild, like I said, it takes me a lot of time just to get from A to B. And I really don't like that. But again, the game is
Mhm.
very addicting and I love it.
Yeah. Wait, the Spider-Man one, is that the one that hasn't come out yet or one that already came out?
So there's a Spider-Man PS4 that came out like in 2018, and the sequel is coming out next month. And I am so excited
wait,
about
because
it.
one of my coworkers is like obsessed with the new Spider-Man game, and I thought that it already came out because he's been playing it and showing me pictures and stuff.
If he has, I'm so jealous. It
He's
comes out October 20th, and
oh,
I'm
does
counting
it?
down the
Okay. Well, then
seconds.
it might be a different game. Maybe he's just late to the party. I don't know. No, he's very into those games. I don't know what it. Anyway, whatever. I don't know which one it is.
But the last consumption corner thing that I have to
we
talk
gotta
about
stop
is
saying
a promise.
we gotta stop saying consumption corner so much. It's making me hungry.
Well, we can eat right after this because I have a promise to binge all of season 4 of Harley Quinn. It's all out. I
Okay.
need to watch it.
Okay. Do it.
I don't know if we'll review it, but I will watch it all.
Watch it. I'm gonna watch it eventually. I dropped off in like the middle of season 3. I don't know why. I just didn't keep up with it. So I'll watch it too at some point. I don't know if we'll end up reviewing it anytime soon. But I did love the first 2 seasons of that show.
But with that, this has been a podcast with a great big bushy beard.